Now at 6 and streaming on crossroadstoday.com, parents and teachers pushing back against the Houston ISD library takeover. And the University of North Carolina holds a moment of silence for the professor killed. Plus, we witness the aftermath in Maui as the community recovers from the deadly wildfires.
We got dry weather and lots of heat, back up to 103 today. We'll be talking about Idalia and also taking a look at what's going to happen for your weekend. All that coming up.
And we have the latest on the Bailey Zappi saga, and we hear from a close source to the quarterback. That's coming up in sports.
You're watching 25 News now at 6. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Karina Garcia. Don Brubaker has the night off. The UNC Chapel Hill community paused for a moment of silence today to remember a fallen professor. The bell tower tolled at 1:02 p.m., marking the exact time the faculty member Ziji Yan was shot and killed Monday by a student. Yan was an associate professor in the Department of Applied Physical Sciences. It was set to take place Wednesday night at the University of North Carolina campus. Classes at the university have been canceled since the shooting and are set to resume Thursday.
We need to do something about the easy access to and proliferation of guns. The culture of gun violence just seems to become an acceptable norm. Like this is we're supposed to just accept and live with this as part of our lives. And I believe it doesn't have to be that way. I believe, as hard as it is, that law and policy needs to change so that these incidents are not such a frequent occurrence, and so that guns are not as ubiquitous as candy on Halloween.
The alleged shooter, Tai Li Chi, has been arrested, faces charges, and is held without bail. Police say the deceased professor knew Chi and was his academic advisor. The Houston Independent School District announced plans to eliminate 28 traditional libraries, turning those spaces of learning into discipline centers. The school district was recently taken over by the state education agency amid claims of poor academic performance and mismanagement. School officials say the change is part of a larger reform effort and evolution in education.
In a community where so many kids are behind in reading, why would you disrupt the library of all places?
So I want to challenge that characterization. There weren't that many libraries that were changed, and there's still a library. We're sitting in the library. We didn't.
It's not a traditional library.
It's not a traditional library because the kids don't have a librarian, but kids are reading more now.
Some Houston ISD parents and librarians are pushing back, saying this change is putting kids in the middle of a political fight. HCS Renewable Energy LLC of Warden and El Campo laid off 62 employees. The layoffs were announced on June 18th. HCS Renewable Energy is a solar subcontractor. And now let's take a look at your forecast with First Warn Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Mac Bettis. Mac, hot and dry, hot and dry.
Yeah, in fact, that's all we got from the big storm on the East Coast. Idalia gave us the backwash, basically the backside of it, and that's a dry air that came through our area and got us up to 103 degrees today. Now, eventually, this is all going to change as the sea breeze comes back and starts bringing us a little bit of moisture. Speaking of moisture, yeah, it's still raining throughout the southeast. This is part of the storm. We'll be talking more about that and got some video on it as well. Stay tuned. We'll have more on that coming up in a moment. Karina?
Mac, thank you. We now go to Hawaii, where the aftermath and recovery of the Maui wildfires will last for decades. And now one firefighter recounts the events of that deadly day.
It's difficult to describe how ferocious this fire was in Lahaina on August 8th. Maui Fire Chief Brad Ventura says unless you were there, you will never know.
The fire was spotting in structures over their heads. The way they described it to me was the fire moved so rapidly through the neighborhood that it was moving like a wildfire moving through grass, but it was burning structures.
Chief says many of his firefighters were trapped themselves. He says that no one gets left behind mentality and training is the only reason they made it out alive.
The heat and the wind and the blockage of the roads at that time. You know, they're heroes for getting out of there. They are incredible individuals for just being able to keep their poise, make the right decisions.
Chief, number 1 in command, wasn't on island that deadly afternoon. He was taking his daughter to college in Colorado, but booked a flight back home as soon as he could.
It was very tough to be away from our people, you know, especially during such a time of need.
Still emotional now? What's going through your mind?
Yeah, absolutely. We're a close-knit community. We're a close-knit fire department. Nobody is unaffected by this. And just knowing that my firefighters are hurting is difficult.
2 fire engines are completely destroyed, and 15 firefighters lost their homes.
For our community, we hurt with you all the way through it. We have firefighters that grew up in Lahaina. They're multi-generational Lahaina families. Nobody in our department's unaffected. Nobody in our county is unaffected. And it's possible it's the same with the whole state.
Chief Ventura wants the people of Lahaina and the world to know that every single firefighter gave it everything they had.
Reporting in Lahaina, I'm Chelsea Davis for Hawaii News Now.
This is breaking news from 25 News Now.
We have received information about shots fired near Christ Kitchen. We have a reporter on scene, Adam Seibel, with more.
That's right. So right before 5 o'clock today, we heard of shots fired today. So this is around Christ Kitchen. Actually, rather 6 p.m. today, we got reports of shots fired here near Warren Avenue. This is right outside of Christ Kitchen. So this is a very active, very recent crime scene. So our reporter Howie Gordon was on scene, and he said one man was taken by ambulance. So that man suspectedly shot. Howie did say he appeared to be breathing and alive as he was taken into ambulance. So the reason this is so active and developing is because the suspect, possibly one shooter, could be more, but the suspect, whoever shot that person, VPD, Victoria Police, still very actively looking for that suspect. So again, this is Warren Avenue. Just before 6 p.m., we got reports of shots fired. So you can see lots of Victoria Police presence. Right over there is the crime scene. So Zach, if you want to pan over there again and see how he was first on scene. And like I said, he actually saw that man get taken away by ambulance. Right when we got on scene about 5 minutes ago, he was leaving by ambulance. And again, very active crime scene. And the suspected shooter still... VPD still looking for that shooter. So very active if you can avoid the area, but VPD looking for that suspected shooter. We don't have any word of that suspect or suspects in custody. So like I said, very active. Come back for crossroadstoday.com for more updates, and we'll provide them as we get them. Back to you in the studio.
Adam, thank you. And like he said, we will have updates on our Crossroads Today page. It was another scary moment for Mitch McConnell today as the Senate Majority Leader appeared to freeze for a second time during a press conference. This episode happened in the Kentucky senator's home state. The 81-year-old had just finished a nearly 20-minute speech, but when asked about running for re-election, McConnell froze up, not speaking for over 30 seconds. Once McConnell re-engaged, he responded briefly to another question before being escorted away. Senator McConnell previously froze during a Capitol Hill press conference back in July. New York prosecutors say Donald Trump inflated his net worth by as much as $2.2 billion in a single year. The state's attorney general's office alleges Trump overstated his net worth by hundreds of millions each year between 2011 to 2021. The $2.2 billion disparity came in 2014. That allegation came as part of the city's $250 million civil lawsuit against Donald Trump, his adult sons, and the Trump Organization. The motion argues the evidence is undisputed and no trial is required, but Trump's attorneys say the case should be dismissed because the organization never missed a loan payment and no parties were harmed. Here are some of the top headlines you can read in the Port Lavaca Wave. One man was found dead after a car fire on a beach last Friday, August 26th. 25th rather. And first responders got a chance to connect with the community Sunday, August 27th during a family fun day at the Port O'Connor Community Center. Plus, Flip Flop Festival returns this weekend at the Bayfront Peninsula Park. You can read these stories and more at theportlavancawave.com. And remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. Hit the like button and click that notification bell. For now, stay with us. Coming up on 25 News Now at 6. With fall season right around the corner, COVID, the flu, and RSV once again making those headlines. Also ahead, a college in Minnesota offering a new cannabis industry course.
Idalia making landfall along Florida's Big Bend as a Category 3 hurricane. The storm bringing life-threatening storm surge and other catastrophic impacts along the state's western coast. The National Hurricane Center says the storm briefly strengthened.
Almost gone, and that means the yearly flu bug will once again present itself as an issue. Two other viruses, COVID-19 and RSV, are also expected to circulate through the air. But for the first time ever in the U.S., vaccines for all three threats are available. An updated COVID vaccine is expected next month, and shots for the flu and RSV are already available. The CDC says in addition to getting vaccinated, people should also try early testing, improving ventilation systems, and in some cases, mask wearing. And now onto the hurricane, making landfall along Florida's Big Bend Gulf Coast as a Category 3 hurricane early this morning.
Idalia making landfall along Florida's Big Bend as a Category 3 hurricane. The storm bringing life-threatening storm surge and other catastrophic impacts along the state's western coast. The National Hurricane Center says the storm briefly strengthened to a Category 4 before weakening as it made landfall around 7:45 Wednesday morning near Keaton Beach. Idalia bringing with it powerful winds clocking in at 125 miles per hour. In Perry, Florida, those strong winds snapping trees in half. In this video, you can see collapsed fences and downed trees blocking roads. In Tampa, Idalia's storm surge causing all kinds of debris to wash up along the shoreline. And in Clearwater, the streets underwater. Officials there telling residents who ignored the mandatory evacuation orders to limit their water use due to severe flooding straining the city's stormwater system. Governor Ron DeSantis confirming the storm knocked out power to hundreds of thousands.
Utility workers are actively working to restore power in all affected areas.
The storm battering the barrier island of Cedar Key. A resident who rode out the storm there, estimating 50% of structures are underwater.
It looks like our entire downtown commercial district is underwater.
Officials say residents there could see up to 13 feet of storm surge, warning that the danger isn't over.
From fallen trees, from down power lines, standing water, you don't know what could be in those waters.
This as Idalia sets its sights on Georgia and South Carolina, facing their own threats of flash flooding and high winds.
The impacts of this storm are being felt throughout the southeast Federal teams on the ground are going to continue to work with the first responders in Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina to get people to safety.
Tampa's International Airport is now open for arrivals only, and officials say full operations should begin by 3 a.m. Thursday morning. And as of now, Governor Ron DeSantis says there have been no confirmed deaths. Ike Ajachi, ABC News, Tampa.
Here's your viewer poll. Scan that QR code on your screen to vote now. The question is, do you know someone affected by Hurricane Idalia? Yes or no? According to these results, 38% say yes and 62% say no. Thank you for voting. We're going to have an update on 25 News Now at 10. Now, usually if college students say they're studying marijuana, it's a joke, but not at St. Cloud University in central Minnesota. It's teaming up with the company Green Flower to offer a 24-week cannabis training program this fall. The non-credit certificate course will teach students how to grow marijuana. It will also explore cannabis, business, and healthcare. The online program follows a passage of laws legalizing recreational marijuana in the state.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Another hot, steamy day for us. Well, I can't even use the word steamy. It was actually dry, so in the shade it was comfortable, but yeah, we got up into the hundreds again. Right now it's 102. Can you believe it? Even at this hour of the day, 103 was our high. That compares to the old record of 105. Congratulations. August is almost over, but today we went another click on the record here. We have now had over 45 days of temperatures over 100 for the entire summer. The number one year was back in 2011, 58 days. Will we beat it? Doesn't really matter. We'll be back with more coming up after this. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Obviously another hot day for us, but also relatively dry. We had that north wind on the backside of Idalia. Yeah, this happened with Katrina, it happened with Rita, we had with Ike. Whenever we get a storm on this side, we get the backside of it, so we're getting the offshore flow. So the wind's basically coming from the Central Plains down into the area. Generally, we were dry. A couple of little late afternoon showers popped up there out in the hill country, but nothing for us. Well, of course, the big news is, of course, everything going on with the storm. That is Idalia right there, just about to come out offshore into the Atlantic, where it'll continue to exist. Now, let's look at this video carefully. They're driving in North Carolina. All of a sudden, a car in front of them gets picked up by the wind and gets blown over. Can you imagine? Now, it either was a microburst or a small tornado, but it's not the actual hurricane, which was beginning to weaken at this time because it came ashore at 125 miles an hour. This is in South Carolina. So even the outer bands can be quite dangerous of the storm. Well, for us, as I mentioned, we were on the backside of it, which is dry. 103 for us, 97 up in Dallas, and 98 down in Corpus Christi. Highs continue, but just consider how lucky we are, folks. It's the end of August. It's the hottest month of the year. Now we're going into September. Can't go much longer, can it? We've got the official equinox, which is the beginning of fall, and that'll occur on the 23rd of September. So we're, a couple weeks, 2 weeks from the official fall. Because of the stillness of the air, I mean, we don't have any strong winds blowing, surface winds at least. And as you can see, air pollution advisories even for Corpus Christi, Houston, and of course San Antonio and Austin as well. Of course, all the watches and advisories continue on the East Coast, yet the west coast of Florida, all the watches have been lowered, but now it's just picking up the pieces. Where's the storm going? Well, it's going to go through South Carolina and then go out in the Atlantic and just sort of wander around over there. But as far as we're concerned, we are not going to get anything. We did have a little higher than average surf and a little coastal flooding, but nothing significant. Here's the path of it so you can see exactly where it came ashore. I heard that the state capitol in Tallahassee did get some trees that fell on top of it as the storm passed through. But as you can see right about there, of course, all those areas affected by the storm. What about us? Well, we're going to be on the dry side of everything. Plenty of sunshine, fairly light northeast winds, eventually turning around to the southeast. They'll basically, back off and then come back up out of the southeast. And so when that happens, we'll start picking up a little bit more moisture. Get up to 102 tomorrow in Cuero with a fairly quiet wind, so there's no significant wind to deal with for the short term right on through the weekend. By Saturday, we pick up the southeast wind, gets a little bit stronger on Sunday, Monday, and it looks kind of enticing there, but I don't know that everybody's going to get any rain. These are just light afternoon showers beginning on Sunday. That's your 7-day forecast, reminding everybody we do have a QR code. Love for you to scan that and put Crossroads Today on your phone. Here's Karina.
Thanks, Mac. And now here's Sports Director Gina Perez.
Thanks, Karina. The Industrial Cobras are 2 days away from its home opener against the Shiner Comanches for the game of the week. That's coming up after the break. At a crossroads after yesterday's troubling news for the former Victoria East quarterback. Bailey Zappe is back with the New England Patriots, but he will not be on the sidelines. Zappe and former Louisville quarterback Malik Cunningham cleared waivers and will be members of the practice squad, which will not affect the 53-man roster. A source close to Zappe said he had multiple other opportunities to join other teams, also starting out on the practice squad with them, but would be elevated after he got the playbook down. But Zappe felt his best chances to get on the field were with the Patriots, and Zappe is undefeated as a starter with a 2-0 record. The NCAA college touchdown leader will be fighting for another opportunity on the big stage for the 6-time Super Bowl champions. The game of the week is between two area teams, the Industrial Cobras and the Shiner Comanches. Down in the Snake Pit, the Cobras are looking to strike back and get its first victory of the year. The Cobras came up short against a newly revamped team in the Yoakum Bulldogs, losing 36-14. This is Cobras head coach Craig Nairn's second year as the leader of the team, and he says that the defensive front is the identity of the team. He is looking to go deeper in the playoffs than they did last year against the Llano Yellow Jackets when they lost in the third round.
Yeah, it helps. It helps knowing the personnel, and the personnel knows us. So, you know, we feel pretty confident that we're way ahead of where we were last year at this point, which is pretty exciting, you know. But our district's tough as it gets in South Texas, you know. So if you can survive that, then you got a chance to make a run in the playoffs.
The weakness for the Cobras right now is the secondary, but Nairn is looking forward to shore that up before district. The Industrial offense is led by two-year starter under center Ashton Garza. The senior said the offensive line have stepped up and worked together well so far. He also feels the deep playoff run helped calm his nerves under pressure.
Experience for sure is a good thing to have, and you know, we're just gonna come out here and compete with everybody else in our district and our region, and we're just trying to be better than last year and the year before that and the year before that. We're just trying to be better every year.
Reminder, the game of the week will feature the Industrial Cobras, which are hosting the Shiner Comanches in the Snake Pit. Neither one of these teams have started 0-2 in the last 5 years. Attorneys for former NFL player Michael Orr have issued subpoenas to gain more records in relation to his conservatorship lawsuit. Orr filed court documents earlier this month that accused Sean and Leanne Toohey of tricking him into signing papers when he was 18 years old. That made the couple his conservators. Orr said he thought they were adoption papers. Orr is asking for an end to the conservatorship as well as full accounting of the money that he earned with his name and story. The Tooheys have declined Orr's allegations. And also, the Houston Astros won its game 7-4 against the Boston Red Sox. Well, that's your sports. Karina, back to you.
Thanks, Gina. We're back in a moment. A group of 6 swimmers take on a 50-mile swim on Lake Superior, all for a noble cause. Open water relay of Lake Superior Finished this morning. They got to the beach in Canal Park just before 8, marking the 50-mile journey in almost exactly 24 hours. The team of 6 swimmers took 1-hour rotations in Lake Superior. Their goal was to raise awareness of rising water temperatures. They did the swim with just regular swimsuits, no cold water bodysuits. One of the relay athletes said he was even singing while swimming to pass the time in the water, a journey he recalled as exhausting. Can only imagine. And with
I can't even breathe. How can you be singing?
yeah, singing and swimming at the same time. How does
So
that work?
were they in the boat next to them riding along?
I would assume
Yeah.
so, to take the hour rotation.
It's a relay.
Oh, okay.
They jump in, the other one swims,
okay.
another one swims.
They tap out.
But they did all the way, but I mean, it's pretty brave.
Yeah.
Not only
How
that.
cold is Lake Superior around this
Well,
time?
it should
Alright.
be colder, but obviously with the heat, that's warming up
I guess
as
they're
well.
also bringing awareness too to that.
Well, it sure is. Anyway, for us, of course, we continue with our record summer. Now we've had 45 days of 100-degree temperatures. We're looking at 102 for tomorrow and no humidity, or relatively low humidity. The humidity rolls back in Monday, but hopefully we'll see a few little garden variety showers around the area.
Fingers crossed for that. Alrighty, well, thank you, Mac, and thank you for joining us. We hope to see you back here tonight for 25 News Now at 10.